Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Henrik 86, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Liam Nedrick, Dank, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Tina Baker, Alexander Main, and David Wayne Foster. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people at least in the Discord server, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
These guys get on here, you don't know who they are.
No offence to anybody, but I'm not that fussed who they are. I don't care. Please don't take offence if you thought I really was concerned.
Yeah, just the way this game's played, I get a kick out of it. Different names and everything.
There's a lot of faceless, nameless trolls. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
And more power to them.
Yeah, just the way the game is.
Right. That's what the internet offers them. Good for you, you fuzzy little sods. Need that little crutch, don't you? Those million miles of fibre optic cable between you and whoever you're talking to. You need those, don't you? I don't need those. But you do. You know who you are.
Hey, did you know that the new thing is the globe model has given us LED TV?
Say LED, light emitting diodes.
Yep, they got it all from the globe model. I heard it last night. There was a guy on.
You reckon?
He said the globe model gave us wonderful advancements in technology. So how could it be wrong?
It wasn't the Matsushitsu Corporation, Panasonic. It wasn't them. I thought it was them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Sharp. It wasn't the globe model, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was on for a couple of hours last night. And even Lemon came on and said something stupid like you can have more than one independent variables.
What does independent mean?
I know.
So go on, break it down for me. LED TVs prove the globe, did you say? Or was it LCD or LED?
LCD, LED, all of them, everything comes from...
Oh, just TV proves globe. Well,
yeah,
what's on the TV for them?
There was a lot of tech stuff he was talking that I did not understand. So maybe when QE comes on, he can break it down for you.
You need them to, man. If they're making the claim, you know, don't feel stupid to say, I don't get it. Just explain it more.
Oh, I was just listening. I wasn't saying anything last night.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I was shaking my head. They were on the arena.
So you can't break it down back for me how this technological advancement in liquid crystal or LED TV technology brews a spherical Earth. You couldn't break it back down for me.
I guess he's talking about some experiments, supposed experiments that they've done.
Beautifully vague, Neil. Thank you so much.
I'm trying, bro. I really
No, that wasn't much help, but it's okay. QED sent a sound clip yesterday. Did you hear that by any chance? You might not have sent it to you guys. You might have just sent it to me. No? Yeah? Anybody?
What was that?
Not
QE
yesterday.
sent me a clip. I just wondered if any of you guys had heard it.
I haven't.
You know who the rocket scientist is?
That's Bell, right? Or,
I don't know.
MC Beach?
I don't know. Just labelled rocket scientist. I'll play it if you want to hear it. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, of course.
No.
Any objections? No?
Rocket scientist, a self-purported rocket scientist, 14 August 2020. You're being called to give account of the following 12 baseless claims that you made, sir. We'll see you in the arena.
Right now, we are assigning dark matter, and dark matter might be real.
Well,
So
dark
even
matter
if it
is just a conceptual abstraction to explain
That's fine.
discrepancy
That's
on the
fine, but it may work.
cosmological scale.
No,
yes,
that's
with
false.
it. It's
It
a
may work.
scientific theory, okay?
Well, it's
Yeah.
actually kind of undefined.
Number 1, rocket scientist. Dark matter is a scientific theory.
Granted, it's on the edge of physics. It's on the edge of physics.
Well, it's not a scientific theory. It's undefined. It's a term.
Okay, it's a theory. It's a scientific, it's an existing one. Until it's displaced or disproven.
There's nothing to displace or there's nothing to replace or disprove. It's nothing yet.
Number 2, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. Until dark matter theory is either displaced or disproved, it stands.
Well, it's based on
You don't
observation.
understand what a scientific
What?
theory is, then.
Okay, what's the theory? What's the theory then?
Number 3, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist claims that Whitsitt doesn't understand what a scientific theory is.
I disagree with you that, well, unlike what Brenda said, the gravitational, like Newton's gravity as we use it, does not apply everywhere.
No.
It doesn't apply to the quantum scale, doesn't apply to the cosmological.
Neither does the theory of relativity.
Number 4, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. Newton's gravity doesn't apply everywhere. A, it doesn't apply at the quantum scale. B, it doesn't apply at the cosmological scale.
Doesn't work, or it's nowhere present. Doesn't operate on the quantum scale or the cosmological scale. That's what dark matter and dark energy is. It's an explanation as to why, it's something else is here occupying this space.
Thank you,
because
Whitsitt.
it doesn't
It's
work
a
here.
scientific explanation, which is the basis of what a theory is.
The theory is something's here. That's the theory. Something we don't understand at all. Dark, meaning we don't know, and matter, assuming it's material.
Number 5, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. Dark matter is a scientific explanation, and that's the basis of what a scientific theory is.
A theory of relativity works at the large scale.
It doesn't work at the cosmological scale, my
hang on,
friends.
let me-
What are you
let me-
talking
let me be
about?
specific. When you're talking about large bodies of gravitational mass, and we're talking speeds that are approaching light.
Number 6, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. The theory of relativity works at the large scale.
Whitsitt.
True.
There
Yeah,
are,
why don't you
there
sign up
are
with Scientific
some things
American?
at the
I
cosmological
guarantee
scale
you.
that are still being investigated, and there are some theories which attempt to explain that. But you keep taking things that are 1,000 years of established science, and you throw in dark matter and dark energy, which admittedly is on the edge of scientific
Gravity isn't
knowledge.
1,000 years of settled science. It's changed in the last century.
Number 7 and number 8, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. Number 7, there's some things at the cosmological scale that are still being investigated, and there are some theories which attempt to explain them. Number 8, gravity is 1,000 years of established science.
Whitsitt, you can take Newton.
Are you sitting here bragging about
Einstein's
concepts?
field equations and reduce them down to Newton's
Ideas
equations.
are fantastic ideas. I love the ideas.
This is just weird.
It's not an idea. I've done the math. I know how to do that.
Okay, but what is math's also an abstract
we don't need to use
description?
Einstein when we're throwing the ball across the room.
Wow, dude, can you show me that it's bendy space-time? That is actually has anything to do with the ball going across the room?
Number 9, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. You can take Einstein's field equations and reduce them down to Newton's equations. I've done the math. I know how to do them.
The why
is bullshit.
It doesn't come into play when we see what is happening.
Oh yeah, even with that, it doesn't work. That's my point. It's conceptually bullshit, and it doesn't even work mathematically. It doesn't even work mathematically. It doesn't even work mathematically on the cosmological scale.
Number 10, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. The why doesn't come into play when we see what is happening.
To the theory of relativity, it falls apart, and so there's something that we're not understanding. That's why. That's the source of the discrepancy.
It is the existing theory, and it works in a lot of the cases, but there's plenty of cases where it doesn't. We're not clutching onto it for dear life. We're trying to rationalize observations that we have with the theory that we have. That's why concepts like dark matter and dark energy are there, to try to get a better understanding and fill in that knowledge gap that we have.
Number 11, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. Dark matter and dark energy fill in the knowledge gap that we have.
It's been proven. In fact, people in this room run around screaming that it's been proven, the theory of relativity. That's a pretty pathetic thing, right? Like, that just isn't true. I mean, if we could just be honest, we can agree to disagree.
But I don't know what I'm just telling you. There are elements of relativity that have been shown to be correct. And there are gaps in the knowledge as well.
The theory of relativity is a mathematical construct, okay?
It's not a mathematical construct.
Yes, it is, and it has a conceptual backing, right?
Your GPS wouldn't work if it wasn't relativity.
Okay,
it's a theory.
That's not true. That isn't true.
Yes, it is.
So why do y'all say things like that? Why do y'all say things like that?
Hold on.
Because it is a theory.
The clocks have to be adjusted on the satellites, otherwise you're going to get mistiming.
Okay.
And you're
that means space-time bends.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Number 12, baseless assertion. Rocket scientist. GPS wouldn't work without the theory of relativity. Rocket scientist, you are formally charged with 12 counts of MSU. Making shit up. Your presence is requested in the arena ASAP to defend your made-up horseshit, sir.
That's the end. That's it.
That's good. What's it sharp? That kid is sharp.
MSU, that's funny.
Yeah, making shit up university. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with.
I don't know who this guy is, though. I don't know who this rocket science
that's why I asked you before I played it, Neil. I don't know either. I've no idea who he is. But clearly, new guy on the scene, claims to be a rocket scientist. Also claims that gravity's been established science for thousands of years, even though there's no scientific evidence of gravity. But there we go.
Amazing.
What we're dealing with.
You know someone's not a rocket scientist if they talk about anything other than rocket science as their only proof that they're a rocket scientist.
What's rocket science?
Okay, you're a rocket scientist. Well, why do you keep talking about flat Earth if you're a rocket scientist?
Fireworks are rockets, are they not?
Yeah, but is that science?
Oh, yeah, it's that too. Like an oxymoron.
Exactly. I was waiting for someone else to say it's an oxymoron. How can you have scientific validity and added to something that's man-made, like a rocket? Well, you can't. It sits outside of science, automatically making it pseudoscience. Rocket science? No, pseudoscience.
I think that's where the confusion is. They're all pseudoscientists.
Yep. And that's currently the main reason why they're here. Because we're pointing that out. They wouldn't be here if we were just pointing out that the Earth's flat. They wouldn't be in the slightest bit threatened. Why would they need to be? They are, because we are here pointing out that their science isn't science.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have liftoff.
With the rocket scientist. You came in just after we played the clip from QE.
I heard it. Notice how they're going to these other topics as well, instead of debunking, say, one of the top 3 housekeeping questions, which they could never do, obviously. So they just kind of like brush them aside and move on to other topics.
That's why the housekeeping questions should always be here until they're answered.
Yeah, and if we find any more good ones, add them on.
Correct.
Yeah, I was talking yesterday and on the subject, and I said the top 3 on the Oakley show are it for me. I mean, those, sure, you can talk about other things, but any one of those takes the whole thing down. And the Black Swan's #1, because if you ain't got a radius, you ain't got a ball Earth. We even have all the other ones.
As long as they're attempting to defend it, we'll still be here saying it. And, you know, as much as we say we're making progress, the majority of the Western world still thinks they're on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum. So, partially that's the reason why I picked the subject. Because I just don't think it's going to disappear quickly. There's a longevity to the subject.
Yeah, it's not going to disappear quickly. I mean, you could see what happens when none of the trolls show up and we have wonderful conversations within other people, the group itself, and we dig down deep in the arguments even better because they're not being trolled by anyone. But they're not, they keep coming here, but they keep avoiding those questions is what I'm saying. They don't, oh yeah, we've already, yeah, refraction. Yeah, I mean, they just say some weak response and think that suffices. And then they want to move on to something else, which doesn't even have the weight that the housekeeping questions have.
Yeah, it's just a game of obfuscation and doublespeak at the moment with our opponents. They don't actually have any arguments. And their rebuttals in the most recent cases with the Black Swan actually defeat their own religion, which is funny and ironic all at once.
Yeah. Well, look how the show ended yesterday with Chaiki. Couldn't even, I don't know.
Yeah, he wants to say 2 words, not complete his sentence, and then he waited for you to speak, and then started talking through you, whilst he's simultaneously saying that he's being muted. It's like, no, you're just saying 2 words and then stopping talking, and then someone else is starting to talk. And yet at the same time, because I know who I'm dealing with, when I am blarting out whatever I'm talking about, I close down the line to Discord, because I want to be heard. I don't want him to have an opportunity to interrupt me the entire time I'm disclosing the demolition of his claim that we don't have 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath an inertial reference frame. Well, once he disclosed that, it's like, well, I'm going to highlight that indefinitely. Of course, he wants to talk through that. And because I've closed the line because I'm talking, he wants to bitch when I open it back up again that he's been muted. It's like, no, I'm talking. What, you don't like the fact that you haven't got an opportunity to constantly interrupt while I point out that you've just disclaimed we don't have 15 degrees an hour of the Earth turning underneath? That's your claim that's supposed to be proving Earth spins. But you're moaning that you're not going to get to talk through that. All right. Well, moan away. Because when we gave him an opportunity to actually state his argument, give him completely open air, oh, my bad, you were interrupted. I think you said it as well, Neil. Go ahead then. Let's see your argument. He mumbled something and then carried on moaning about how he was being treated. Pathetic. And that's what we have to deal with. Not a coherent argument in rebuttal. And constant moan about how they're treated here. Oh yeah, piss off.
Well, that's what I said to him. He said that you wouldn't let him get out, that it's only you only observe it when you change elevation.
When you change elevation, what do you observe? What do you say?
The Coriolis.
Well, I asked them a direct question. Are the stars moving, I believe, or is the Earth turning? Which one is it? I think that was my question, if I recall.
Right.
And I just needed them to take a position.
Yeah, his position was Earth doesn't turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour. That was his position. He stated it clearly.
But but then he said it did. I mean, he actually said both sides, I thought.
Yeah.
When you change elevation, it does. That's what he was saying. It's a joke.
But he didn't say that on the show, elevation. He was saying it does and it doesn't in the same breath almost. But if it's Earth that's turning underneath, at what elevation do you notice change if the ground under you is moving?
Don't ask me. It's not my claim.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, okay, fine. I'll accept the elevation. Half an inch, a quarter inch. The minute you're off. Bumbleheads. I mean, if they're saying it affects a bullet, it's a bullet. Come on.
You have to call on Coriolis. When a pitcher throws a curveball, he meditates and he calls on the Coriolis effect, and then you get a curveball.
So you have to call on, praying for Coriolis to exist. Is that it?
Seems that way.
Oh, man. It's getting funnier and funnier. Yeah, the
fact is, you would observe it everywhere. Am I right? If the Earth was spinning, we would observe Coriolis when I'm outside playing catch with my son, with a football, with a baseball, everything that goes in the air, I would observe an apparent deviation. That's what I understand. If the Earth was spinning.
Right, but you know what? One of the greatest sayings here is the Earth is obviously and observably flat and motionless. That's what we observe.
That's why balls go straight and they don't deviate.
Yeah. It's that Jedi mind trick. There is no ball. There is no radius. They have reified it. They want it to be. They've fooled everyone with all the movies and pictures. It's truly amazing when you step back and look at how well they've pulled it off. I mean, we can be standing next to a person and they'll say we're moving when we're not moving. That's how good the trick is. We're actually moving, but I can't feel it. I can't see it.
I used to say that in my preaching.
What?
I used to say that when we used to do street evangelism. I used to say, look how awesome God is. Right now we're moving, but yet we're standing still.
Well, that's what they put in everyone's head, right?
Correct.
Yep, interesting times we live in, where this subject gets such blood pressure going in some people.
Well, the thing is, like when we're reading the Bible, so many times I just breeze past the whole Genesis account. Until you really start to read it and look at it and start looking up what words mean in Hebrew and Greek, then you start to put it together.
Yeah, well, you've said nothing different than what's happened on other issues, too. Look at all the false religious systems that exist that borrow from the Bible. They even say Jesus. They even quote scriptures, but they put a twist to it. So in some of them, you can become a god, and there isn't only one God. There's many gods, and people are stuck in those false religious systems And they hold the Bible in their hand while I'm talking to them. And I'm saying, it doesn't say that in the Bible. I know your religion says that, and if that's what you want to believe, go ahead, but that's not in the Bible. Now, please show me where it says you can become a god in the Bible. And they start taking me this. Well, yeah, then they start taking me to these scriptures that obviously aren't saying what they say, but out of context, you can make it say something like that. And so it's like, wait a minute, let's read the context. Why was that said to that person? And how do you interpret that you can become a god? I mean, it's not there. And so this was obviously foretold that there'll be many false teachers, false prophets, and even different Jesuses would be coming to trick the world. So, I mean, to most people, there's only one Jesus, right? But according to the Bible, there's going to be many Jesuses. Well, make sure you got the right one is the whole idea. So yeah, it's easy. It's easy when it's planted in your head, especially when you go to church and your pastor's teaching, globe Earth and saying it's an expanse instead of a firmament and all these different things that they've done. So, they're embarrassed. They don't want to go against pseudoscience because they think it's science. And then if they say something, the congregation can say, yeah, but what about NASA? And what about this? And the pastor's not ready for it. So it's easier for him to say, God did this whole thing with the ball. And no, he didn't. It doesn't say that in the Bible, like you said.
I think it's pride too with the pastors. I think it's pride.
It's pride with every single human being. Pride is in every single human being and affects us all. We have to be careful of pride. We could be prideful with the truth as well. It's just you have to do it in love and care and a teaching heart is best. Now, but
that's the
I'm
hard
affected by pride. What's that?
I said that's the hard part, doing it in love and care and gentleness and meekness and long suffering.
It's very difficult because on one hand, you care for the person, you want to help them. On the other hand, there's this part in you that, if not handled right, shows up as pride rather than long-suffering care to teach and concern. So it's the way it's viewed by the other people. Now, you could get passionate about the truth and someone could look at it and say you're very prideful, but really you're passionate about the truth and you're standing to defend the truth. And that could be easily mistaken as prideful. But it's the use of language and, just the mojo in the air when you're talking to someone. If they see that you really care and it's a really tough conversation, those are the hard ones. But yeah, I mean, we're all have it. We just have to watch how it comes out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Paul.
I changed my identity.
You changed your identity? You're not Paul anymore?
Look at my avatar.
I just see a green with a P in the middle, green circle.
Well, it says rags to riches with a Bible, compass, and a microphone glass.
It says rags to riches somewhere? I don't see that. Well, I can see why you changed your identity since you went from rags to riches.
It's not the kind of riches you're thinking of, though.
I'm just trying to spur on some conversation. Do tell.
I was a pauper, but now I'm a king.
Ah, I see. Very good.
No, I just thought it was time for a change.
Change is going to come, as the song says. So, what's new with you, Paul? Any debates you're involved in over flat Earth?
No, nothing. Nothing that isn't the same thing we hear every day, all the time. I mean, it's the same little arguments over and round and go. So, trying to just right now, just feeding Jesse some oatmeal, and Lily's over on the blanket, and House is out on the deck. So it's just one of those mornings.
Cool.
Everybody's quiet at the moment.
Everyone's found their microstate and they're happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's been interesting since Black Swan came on the scene, and here we are in August, and crickets. They got nothing. It's actually quite nice.
Refraction. The Black Swan's been debunked.
Well, see, now that's something we can all hone in on, is how they think that debunks the Black Swan, when their own expert, Andrew Thomas Young, talks about refraction and doesn't say anything they say about it. Says the opposite. I remember QE saying when
the problem is
when
QE saying too.
So sorry, Neil. Go on.
I said the problem is other flat earthers as well. When you're in a debate and there's a guy claiming that you can have more than one independent and dependent variable, and then they explain to that you can't. That's why it's called independent. And you have another flat earther like Byrd come on and say, "Oh, yes, you can." That creates a problem.
Well, that's just somebody's opinion. You can go to citations and sources that actually define the scientific method, and it's always one and only independent variable, or else how would you know?
QE did.
Yeah, that's enough then.
And they still asserted you can. So, you're in a no-win situation with these ballers.
It's all right. This is all going to happen. But my point is this, that when QE first started Black Swan, he said, and when they say refraction, then ask him to address all the different effects of refraction, looming, sinking, all these different ones. I think it's 5 or 6, something like that. And of course, that's cited, and it has in the sentence, as it cites these different variations of refraction. Horizon isn't one of them. It's how they are seen because of the horizon. They either are sinking behind it or looming above it. The horizon is not being refracted is the key. And these people say refraction. They don't even know what they're saying. They haven't even read the paper from their own guy.
What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall, 10th Man, Chocolate Sane, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Sunset Strip, Los Angeles.
Not on Earth.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Not
on Earth.
Is this going to be a repeated theme? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is that?
Thought that'd catch you out. Hey, Owen.
The invisible force? No force?
What is
so far,
this gravity you speak of? What is this?
Here, I'll help the Globers out. It started out as a weight, then it became mass attracting mass. Now it's spinny space-time. So I'll help the Globers out a little bit.
That was good, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul. Go over it a little bit. It's nonsense you talk of.
What's weight? We have no idea because we don't know what mass is. If we don't know what mass is, how can we do mass attracts mass? And space-time is a concept, so how can that do anything?
Alrighty then. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Hypothesis would require them to have an independent variable. Can you have an independent variable with anything in the sky?
They can observe phenomena, but I don't know about varying something to cause that in the sky, light or whatever, to happen. I don't know about that.
Well, come on, we can observe, we can calculate, we can predict.
Can anybody hear me?
Now we can, Arwin, yes.
Jesus.
So, bro.
Google.
Oh, good. We can hear you now. It's okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun, Arwin?
No, none whatsoever. Even though some people like to suggest, because they can't help it, that sunspots prove it's a ball. Even though those sunspots, I've seen that shit over time lapse. It moves like on a plate behind a cutout of the sun. It doesn't actually move in a spherical way with a slower sideward approach at the edges and faster motion, angular motion at the dead center. That doesn't happen with sunspots. If I remember correctly, remember with Paula's videos from way back?
Yeah, about
What's
5 years old. What's a sunspot? I have no idea. But if sunspots, then globe Earth, because sunspots, right?
No, just the sun. The people in my chat were insisting that the sun is actually a ball. We weren't even talking about Earth. But there's no proof. You can't approach it, whatever it may appear to you like. There's no proof it's a physical object in any sort of way, other than appearances.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
You mean a cartoon at the center of a cartoon? No.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
There's no way to demonstrate that. Even though some people think that the second law of thermodynamics is word salad, sorry. Even though they claim to be flat earthers, or sort of. I don't
there
know
an
what
R
to
in that word salad? Any evidence of Earth radius? The R value?
Never.
Black Swan.
A shout out to Kim Robinson, who's just joined as a channel member. I think that concludes the housekeeping. Excellent stuff. Short and sweet.
Oh, this was fast compared to a few other days ago, right?
Yeah,
We're
yesterday's.
going nice and slow.
Yeah, yesterday's took half an hour. That's because it's a Monday. And there was a significant gap between shows. So in the pre-show, we played a clip by Quantum Eraser addressing, I think it was a dozen fallacies by a guy who goes by Rocket Scientist. Do any of the new panel members know who this rocket scientist is? I have no idea.
There's no such thing as rocket science. It falls under engineering.
Right, we covered that as well. Right, oxymoron. Indeed.
Chocolate's got to know who it is.
I don't know him. I heard him in the little clip. Something about 1,000 years of gravity and other such nonsense. I mean, that's all I know about him.
Indeed. 1,000 years of scientific validity being offered for science of gravity when there is no science for gravity. Just classic stuff.
Yeah.
So you can just put science in the back of any statement, I guess, these days.
Right. And I see it frequently. People testing a cable, they stick it on a meter, they test the impedance, they test the resistance, they test the capacitance, and then they call it science! Well, other people don't do the science with the cables, they just say they're wonderful. Me, I'm doing the science. No, you're not. You're just measuring stuff. That's maths. Same with tyres. When I got the Lexus, shout out to all the people who supported me on GoFundMe about a year and a half ago. One of the things I looked into was tyres. Fascinating stuff that it is. I'm joking, by the way. Nevertheless, the amount of manufacturers that claim science because they've done a few road tests. You're like, what? How can you claim that as science? I understand that you're measuring how long it takes to brake and how long it takes to accelerate and how well you can take a corner and how many G's you'll pull, but that's still maths. It's not science. But they'll declare science has proven these tyres are better. No, it hasn't. Just nonsense.
So when I work on my greenhouse, that's not greenhouse science?
You can think of it as science.
Did the Lexus dealer offer you some tires without any rubber?
By Lexus dealer, do you mean man who sold me his wrecked, very tired old car in the street for under £1,000? That Lexus dealer.
Yeah, that's him. That's the one. It could be anybody. It could be a used car guy that's dealing a Lexus. So yeah, it could be anybody. Did they offer you some tires with any rubber?
They offer. Are you trying to get to? Did they offer me gas pressure without a tire? Is that what you're trying to drive at here? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I'm driving down the road without any rubber on my tires.
No, but the actual person who fitted the tires, I got Michelin cross climates, by the way. Anybody who's interested in my tire research. Anyway, yeah, they weren't capable of giving me the nice cushy gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of the tire for the gas pressure to press upon. That would be a violation of natural law if they could offer it. So no, they definitely didn't offer any violations of natural law when fitting tyres. You can't have gas pressure without a container.
They probably gave you a leaky tire though, maybe. If you get any used ones, you might have had a leaky tire that has a small hole in it. That would still succumb to entropy over time.
But technically, class them all as being open systems. I mean, to a certain extent, no seal is going to be absolutely perfect. And to a certain degree, as you're bouncing over bumps and stuff, you're going to be opening and closing, to a certain degree, the seal that is there. So there is going to be a certain amount of gas escaping from any tyre. That's why you have to top them up, right? Well, that technically makes it an open system. The gas can escape. That's why you lose pressure. Now, it might be proportional to the whole that is there, and therefore still absolutely capable of being described by entropy, which is proportional to time. So obviously if you've only got a tiny amount for the air to escape, entropy is going to take a long time to increase. But eventually the gas will fill the space, i.e. the tire pressure will go down to zero relative to the pressure that it's surrounded by.
Well, but Nathan, even though there's just a little bit leaking over time, that's still considered approximately a closed system, though, right? Wouldn't it be?
No, I said technically open, not closed. If you have a means of the matter, in this case the gas, escaping, then it's an open system. So you don't have a perfect seal on a tyre, therefore it technically is open.
I know, but just to such a small amount, Nathan. It's not that much, but because it's such a small amount, we can consider it a closed system.
No,
Paul.
Didn't I just say that? Am I just repeating myself? What's going on?
Paul is playing go ahead. It's either open or closed, Paul.
Yeah, but
I mean globe head, Paul.
I said, but the Earth there's only so much little matter escaping. You can consider the Earth a closed system.
Oh, I see. It's considered closed, and like the tyre, if I accept your premise, which is to say that essentially, or let's just forget it and just, for the audience's benefit, let's pretend I've just inserted about half a dozen weasel words to say it's closed. So I can agree with your premise. So we've got my example saying, well, no, it's not really closed because it's got gaps that are letting a little bit of gas out. But essentially you're saying, well, no, but for the most part it's closed. Okay, well, where's the analogous tyre around Earth, Paul?
There's this thing called, I don't want to say it because I know what you'll do if I say it. That's what's going to keep it in place.
Say gravity one more time, motherfucker.
I think Jesse agrees with you.
You're going to have to do it though, Paul. You just bite the bullet, mate. You want to play baller, feel free.
It's a force that's not a force, but you can think of it as a force, gravity.
Okay. Can you show it me?
Things fall down and go boom, boom. Ping pong balls in an aquarium. I have a basketball that falls down on the ground. That's gravity.
Right, but we're talking about tyre pressure with gas filling it and escaping through little tiny gaps. And my question is, what's the analogous tyre? Your answer to that is gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank. Or what about a helium balloon? Does that go down, go boom, boom?
Yeah, but what's the cause of that? What causes it to go up is gravity. It's the buoyancy. You understand this, don't you?
Yeah, you haven't shown it me yet. You can't just beg the question and say, well, the reason it goes up is gravity also. What's your proof of gravity if gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank isn't going to fly because gas doesn't behave that way? Fact. Gas is unbonded. But what's your actual proof of gravity? Can you show it me?
Well, they did this thing with the balls in a shed. They did that thing. There's your proof.
That's 100 years out of date. It's been superseded. Debunked by a helium balloon. I'm just going over the same things. No, there isn't a mass attracting mass. Number one, what's mass? Number two, that's not a scientifically valid experiment, as it claimed to be, therefore automatically pseudoscience. And number four, it's been superseded by bending space-time. So gravity is not a force, as asserted by Newtonian / Cavendish / Reverend John Michel gravity, which is claimed to be a force. That's been superseded. Gravity is not a force. Quote, George Musa, 2019. Or, my preference, Professor Brian Cox. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote. Or no, I'll get it correct. I've paraphrased that. That's incorrect. How does he say it? There isn't really a force of gravity at all. That's correct. There you go. Professor Brian Cox. Anything else? So we haven't got no analogous tyre then, Paul.
What's that again? I'm sorry. I've seen
no tire around a claimed to be spherical Earth existing in a sky vacuum 10 to the minus 17 core. There isn't an analogous tire. Bearing in mind that a tire does actually simply have to have a few gaps for it to equalise with the surrounding air pressure, whereas Earth has no tire around it. Go, Paul, go.
Jess is getting loud, so I can't talk. I can see it. I'm done. You got me.
Okay, fair enough. Did anybody else in Discord want to take up the gravity reins? Feel free.
Nah, there's not a lot to get a grip on. No, it's very elusive. Said it, when was it? Yesterday, 2 days ago? Gravity is like glue that never dries.
Is it? Can you show it me?
Yeah.
Can you show me this?
Well, the ballers use it to stick it, to try to make things stick constantly, but every time it's proven like, yeah, it doesn't really stick. And then they just try to glue something else back together. They constantly use gravity, move the argument. So it's like their glue, but it doesn't really stick, but they try to use it anyway.
I see. Like a better analogy would be Band-Aid. It's like a Band-Aid that's lost all its stick.
Right. I guess, yeah.
An invisible Band-Aid.
I don't know, it's done a pretty good job of soothing their pain. It's been a reasonably good painkiller up until now, right?
Well, they got a bigger owie now with the geometric horizon, so they need a better Band-Aid.
Does gravity ever get asserted in terms of the Black Swan? I don't really get that.
No, I'm saying because of the Black Swan killing the whole concept of a ball at a radius, they're going to need a bigger Band-Aid for gravity to have the limelight again. So to speak.
Oh, right. Yeah, I see what you mean. In terms of an injury, it's like losing a leg, like having it just chopped off. And having a Band-Aid of gravity, yeah, it's not going to do much for that injury. You know, the patient, in this case, the globe, is going to bleed to death.
It's like all the arguments prior to now would be something akin to this. Okay, so the radius, we're wrong. It's not 1.2, but we still got gravity. Well, if you don't have a radius, what's the use of gravity? We ain't spinning. We're not on the ball.
Well, I think I'm predict, because there is this thing called gravitational lensing that they could apply to the R value. They could do that, technically.
Paul, please express why they have hijacked the word gravitational in front of lensing when it should be called something else, lensing. Why they put gravitational there instead? Why do they do that?
Because gravity's supposed to bend space-time and cause things to go around objects.
No, gravity doesn't bend space-time. Gravity is supposedly an effect of the bending of space-time.
It's getting loud back here. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. So what is this gravitational lensing, Nathan? What are they trying to say there by putting a word that doesn't belong in front of lensing when you're viewing things between, say, like two mountains or whatever they try to do there?
Yeah, that's just attributing yet another thing to something they don't have to make it confusing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because if it's a force that's not a force, and how is it affecting lensing? And why would they put gravitational lensing? It's like, next thing you know, they'll have gravitational hash browns and eggs for breakfast. Everything just to remind us of gravity. Just put it in front of things and condition people that it's actually there is the reason I think it's there. But it has nothing to do with what they're talking about.
They kind of do, though, don't they? It's used in the language.
I was thinking about.
Go on, Chocolate.
I said that they have to have a big G, no matter what. Everybody has to have some kind of G that they worship, and their G is gravity.
Okay, so that Chocolate, what were you going to say before I respond?
I was going to say, why does any of that surprise you? They think that concepts can bend and warp and distribute unevenly. Why would anything they say surprise you at all? How does space and time, two concepts that they merge into one concept, bend and warp anything? Or how does that work?
Can you expand on that a little bit better? So a concept, something that's not real, is supposed to be causing something real? Is that what you're trying to say? They say?
Yeah. Take the concept of time, take the concept of space, put it together and tell you, oh, this conceptual medium is somehow bending and warping and causing things to fall.
So they're attributing causal power to time.
Yeah.
How do you
and space?
Yeah, and so how are they getting causal power out of a concept? Is what you're really saying?
Yep. Pretty much.
Well, that's as hard as gas pressure without a container. I mean, how do you do that?
I don't know, my friend.
Well, time will tell, Chocolate.
That concept of time, huh?
You think about it, right? I mean, all the times you've heard, well, time will tell. When people say time will tell, what are they saying? Well, let me give you an example. So if a father is instructing a young child on some matter and the child's being stubborn, the father would say, all right, you go ahead, keep doing it. Time will tell. What's he really saying? He's really saying, I've been around before you. I know what you're doing is not going to work. And since you're so stubborn, you're not listening to me, I'll just watch you fail. Because in time, as you proceed with the wrong methods on this project, you're going to fail. Now, he's not actually saying time is going to do it. He's just, the kid's going to figure it out when he actually experiences failure because his methodology is wrong. But we say time will tell.
Well, one of my favorite definition of time is that the progression of existence. Can you manipulate the progression of existence?
Well, I've never heard that.
Yeah. You look it up. It's one of the definitions of time. And I think actually Zanuck said that one time to us. I said, oh, the progression of existence. Can you manipulate the progression of existence? And he said no. Like, okay, thanks. Time can't be an independent variable then. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, that's when they said time was the independent variable. Yeah.
Then it's not science, right?
Well, it's secondhand science for them. Gee, that was a good pun, and no one got that one.
Boom, boom.
TikTok.
I'm thinking that so when they talk about independent variable, they're actually not talking about causes, because I hear them talking more about, oh, that's an effect, or this is this. So even like it takes time, like I'm putting sausage in the oven, like there's time involved in that, but it's kind of the effect of the cooking process. But the time in the oven did not cause the cooking process. Does that make sense? And I think they conflate those two. So there's no technically in their mind, if there's always a independent variable that's more of an effect, there's no cause. Everything's just effects.
Yeah, they'll use a bait and switch. So they'll substitute in what is an effect. Whether or not it's observed is kind of beside the point. For what they will say is something quantitative. So they can describe how much of something has happened over a period of time, and therefore ham-handedly swindle you into believing that that's the independent variable, that time is the independent variable, because they can give you a quantitative account with mathematics. That's what they do.
So it can be an independent variable in mathematics, but not in physics, right?
Well, it's held constant if you're dealing with a reaction. How much of the reaction you could qualify thereafter, but ultimately you're trying to establish the cause. So if you haven't actually verified your independent variable, the simplistic example of this would be that you see a boiling hot spring and try and figure out the cause. Well, if you don't actually do any experimentation and just decide that the cause is going to be acid, and then you start to describe mathematically how much of the cause is going to occur based on the acid content of the water, you can describe all day how much, let's say it's the evaporation level that you're looking at, how much gas is produced from the water based on the acidity of the water. Well, you haven't actually validated anything with science, so you're just wrong. Well, the maths might add up perfectly, based on your assumption that acid's causing the water to boil off. Well, it isn't. But that's where science isn't about the amount that is occurring, it's about the cause of what made the thing actually occur. So in this example, heat, well, you could qualify with time how much of the water boils off. But the cause is what you're looking for in terms of the physical reality that we're faced with and the cause of an effect that you observe in nature. So you're ultimately always going to be trying to find what caused it. How much it causes it, you can only establish once you've got the cause of the effect.
So in a way, like the sausage, I could put it at 250. It'll take longer to cook because it's a slower temperature. But I put it at 400. It'll be quicker to cook, but of course it might not cook thoroughly because depending on the size of the sausage, or just under whatever I'm cooking. So there is but ultimately it's the heat that is doing the cooking, not the time, right?
But if you asserted temperature, so if I then reduce that down to the temperature of your fridge, 2 or 3 degrees centigrade, will that affect how long it takes to cook?
I'm reducing the temperature in my fridge down lower.
I'm just saying it's not temperature versus time, because even then you go beyond a certain point and you don't get the cause anymore. Whereas heat will always be the cause of that sausage to be cooked. Maybe you'll observe that in nature. We'll give you a pass just for the sake of this example. But my point is that, your qualitative measure is going to be the amount of cooking that's taken place based on the time and the temperature in your example. Whereas heat is the actual cause of it cooking. Or boiling water is better because you do actually observe that in nature, but it's the same thing.
Also, you could technically see some meat cooking in nature because lightning can strike a tree, catch a forest on fire, and look over and you see the deer burning and cooking in the fire. So you could technically see that in nature.
I suppose you could go into a forest fire and say, look at that there, pig squealing in agony. Oh, it's actually quite tasty now it's all died down. I wonder what caused that after watching it roast to death. No, but yes, I see. You could swindle it into and observe phenomena that you saw in nature. Yes, I understand, Paul. With a few steps that were probably quite gruesome.
I actually roasted a globalist this morning about that because he was talking about how flat earthers are holding humanity back from manned space flight.
You roasted, eh? Boom, boom.
Yeah, because I cooked them. I cooked that goose.
Say again, Chris.
Well, because he was basically saying that flat earthers deny. Oh, did I talk over someone?
No. Carry on.
Okay, so basically he was saying that flat earthers say that time can't be a variable. I go, well, I guess from the globalist point of view, that's why manned space flight abruptly ends in 1972, because time's the cause.
Time caused this man-made event to stop happening, did it?
Yeah, and it also caused it to begin. So the cause is time, the effect is manned spaceflight. That's why manned spaceflight only exists from 1969 to 1972. Because time.
Because time. This is total nonsense. Did somebody actually assert this?
It is. Yeah, they did. Their original absurdity was that flat earthers are the ones responsible for why manned spaceflight stopped in 1972. And then he gave a description about a flat earther being in chemistry class. About
So they looked into the future and noticed that flat Earth was going to be popular, and it's our fault. That's why they discontinued.
No, flat Earth was prevalent around that sort of time as well. Believe it or not. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, shocker to me too when I saw the clips and the interviews and the appearances on game shows. But yeah, flat earthers were out and about. There was big billboards around and about. Shockingly similar stuff to we have now, weird as it may sound, with billboard advertisements and stuff like that. But there we go. Yes, indeed.
So what happened to them?
Can I remind you that Calvin and Martin Luther both fought against this globe nonsense?
What happened to him, Arwen, is that because of Nixon's war against communism and Nixon's lunar mission, it was like a really kind of a slight if you were calling out the Apollo program. It was almost like you were a communist, because if you were going against American supremacy of space, there must be something wrong with your patriotism.
Well, it's interesting that
my mic working.
Yes, Neil.
Yeah, go on, Neil.
So you're saying he was basically cracking down on flat earthers?
Sounds like Neil to me.
Hold on, let's just round out this conversation. We'll go to you in a sec, Neil. Feel free to respond to Arwen, Crit.
Oh, okay, yeah. It really appeared like he was cracking down on all speech. It wasn't just flat Earth speech. It was like any speech that was even slightly critical of the government. Bang, that person's a communist. And that's kind of why I think it dried up. A lot of alternative points of view, were kind of marginalized under the threat. Like now today, like terrorism. People would just say, "Oh, that's a terroristic threat," or that is, like the same sort of fear porn that they used back then is the same. They just changed the word to what to be afraid of.
So would you suggest that in the same way that if you're going to push the idea of having terrorism, you need a terrorist of sorts to point to say this is what a terrorist is, and in the same way you're saying, or I would say, that you need to be able to point out what a flat earther is in order to be able to keep it suppressed and ridiculed in the mind's eye of the general populace. In other words, they need to be vaguely aware that there's a thing out there called a flat earther and they need to be ridiculed. Well, if they're so underground that no one ever sees them, hears from them, or sees, then they're never going to be able to keep the general gist of the programming that this is deserving of ridicule, because who's there to actually have it pushed out there? Maybe every so often it drops off so much that they have to put it out a bit themselves with controlled up narratives, just to get people back interested in it enough so that the general public can see it being ridiculed. I'm just speculating. To a certain degree, I am of the opinion, though, that a lot of this information is going to be controlled opposition, because that's how any information's put out there. It doesn't seem to matter what it is. There's going to be both sides controlled by whoever's controlling information in general.
Nathan, if I'm hearing this right, I was 10 years old in 1969.
Before you get into it, I'm 10 years old, 1969. Neil's been waiting. Go ahead, Neil. I know you've got something to add.
No, I was just saying, everybody's surprised that there was flat earth in the 70s, 60s, but you had the church fathers fighting against it. John Calvin, Martin Luther, they all fought against the heliocentric model.
That I didn't know.
Martin Luther. They did.
I didn't know that.
I've actually read the quote where Martin Luther actually is talking about Copernicanism. I actually read that quote. I have to go find it and dig it out.
Yeah, that'd be great, because this is news to me. Did not know that. Go ahead, 10th Man. You were about to tell us about...
You're kidding, right?
The year was 1969. 10th Man was a 10-year-old fuzzy little sod running around causing trouble.
That was that part for sure.
It was a dark and stormy night.
No, that was
electricity has recently been invented.
Southern California. I was living in Southern California, in Long Beach, California, and we watched the moon landing on TV. The whole original rebroadcast of the rebroadcast of the rebroadcast of the rebroadcast. No live feed, of course.
That sounds original.
Yeah, that's very original. And so, if I'm hearing, I can't remember the guy who was talking. Is it Chris or what was? Who's the guy talking? What?
Chris.
Crit. Okay. Yeah. There was no flat Earth. There was no any mention of flat Earth and the Apollo missions or anything, because I mean, this baller who said that it was because of the flat earthers or whatever, I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, today we know they're getting $59 million a day, NASA that is, and back then they were getting a huge sum of money as well, obviously. And how much was Flat Earth opposition group getting per day to cause this?
Well, it wasn't, but it was still kept out in the mind's eye of the public. So around about that sort of time, I think it was the $6 Million Man or something like that. I certainly know the actor.
Yeah, Lee Majors was the $6 Million Man, followed by the Bionic Woman.
Bear with me.
Yes, well,
so there's a clip where William Shatner's in it, and he's going to space, and he's talking about Earth being flat from his vantage point up in space. They ask him what it looks like, and he says it's flat. It's flat.
Yes, that's fine, and that's in a movie scene. But what was Crit saying that the baller was suggesting at that time, that this was flat earthers holding back humanity? I mean, what's going on here?
Oh, no. Yeah, today in 2020, he basically says because flat earthers won't recognize time as a independent or dependent variable, it's flat earthers' fault that manned space flight ended in 1972.
Now that's so comical. I mean,
wow.
That is so comical.
That sounds delusional.
No, we just debunked space.
You got to get that one.
So, no, in terms of the 2020 position, no, space flight, manned or otherwise, never existed because space is fake. You can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill that space. So that space is space in this example. So space, no, there hasn't been any space travel, ever.
The whole thing is nonsense. How are we holding anything back?
Yeah, I got nothing to do with that. Whatever the government is doing, the government's going to do, if I like it or not. Okay, my speech here on Discord is not changing anything at all. Oh, sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
I was just saying, we can't hold back the government from doing anything, so that's a bunch of shite.
Is that what you want to achieve, though?
It's fear porn.
Is that what you actually want to achieve?
Awareness, really.
No,
I mean, just
no. I see it. I see it the other way around. The body that's receiving $59 million a day, they're the ones holding people back. They got the money and the resources. Flat earthers don't have resources to hold anything back.
We've now just transposed it onto the people at large. It's the same question to you then, Gentleman. So your objective would be to change how the clearly psychopathic liars disseminate their information to the masses. That's your primary concern, is it?
No, not. I can't say it's my primary concern, but on this topic and staying in context to the topic, that baller that is being referred to as saying that flat earthers are holding, science back or truth back. That's so much nonsense. I'm applying it just to that because, number one, when was flat earth? Well, first of all, we didn't have internet back then. We didn't have shows you can go on and talk about it. I mean, you can call in, I guess, on a radio show, but I don't recall any radio shows talking about the subject, come across my way. And so up until, 2015-ish or whatever, now we actually get on the airwaves in various means to discuss the matter, just to discuss the matter. And everybody is self-funded or has to have support to keep their shows going because it's not getting $59 million a day. I mean, so I don't even know what this guy is saying as to the effect. But to your question, it's a one-off thing. It's if I meet a person and they want to enter a conversation on any subject, if I sense something's not true, I'm going to ask a question back to them about it. Why do you think that's true? And then wherever that goes, that goes.
That's funny because every time I've asked somebody, why haven't we gone back to the quote-unquote moon since 1972, I've never told, because of flat earthers. As a matter of fact, one of these guys are on film saying, "Oh, I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to bring it back." I don't remember him saying, "Oh, these damn flat earthers took away our technology, and apparently we just can't make it back to the moon where we went 6 times back and forth in the second law of thermodynamics violation."
I've heard Globers say that, well, why would we go back? We went up there, we researched it, we're done. I've actually heard Globers on Discord say that. Why would we ever
I love when people do that shit. Oh, because I should just disregard all the documentaries I watched where they were supposed to be bases on the moon. We're going to go find helium-3 and all this other shit, right? Yeah, I guess we just gave that up. Said, nah, we might as well just focus on Mars or something. Like, people that say shit like that, they're just fooling themselves, man. It's pretty sad.
Secret alien bases on the dark side of the moon with all the glass tubes and the mysterious lights and
Hey, I don't even know.
Anybody thinks that that's real, and
I thought it was real.
Not one other country has even bothered to try to put a guy on the moon, or a woman, or a dog, or something. I mean, the space race. Oh, Russia. And then what? America gets there, and then Russia just gives up? Oh shit, look, they made it.
I just thought of a counter argument. We Admiral Byrd went down there and explored Antarctica back in the 40s or 50s, right? And he did all this exploration. So, okay, he's done all the work. We're done. So we don't need to have any science research station down there. We don't know how to. We need to pull everybody out because Admiral Byrd did it back in the 50s. So we're done, right? Is that the same argument?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, chocolate.
How do you know?
You think it's a coincidence? Sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
So Admiral Byrd did what now?
Admiral Byrd went in there and explored Antarctica. He explored it. Operation High Jump, Operation Deep Freeze, went down there. They explored Antarctica. So why should anybody else have to go down there after that?
Why should you accept that at face value?
I'm not accepting this at face value.
I'm just saying it's part of the propaganda, though, isn't he? This whole Admiral Byrd thing is part of the propaganda.
Are you saying he did? Are you saying he didn't go down there?
I see the propaganda as sort of linked, though, because he came back with his. I mean, you can think of it as propaganda or not, right? But he was on television talking about, finding an expansive land the size of the continental United States that no one has discovered, and all of this, and that it should be very interesting for resources and all this, and he expects the whole world to be interested in it. And then right after that, it gets shut down. Antarctic Treaty goes up, and then soon after that, NASA's formed. Do I take all of that as a coincidence? Not really.
Well, I just accept the fact that I'm dealing with magicians. So how does a magic trick work? Well, they put one hand over here and go, look over here, look over here, look over here. Well, they're picking your pocket. Right? So you're showing me something that's just, to me, maybe I'm going to be completely obliterated in the comment section after this goes out. People are going, no, fact, Admiral Byrd, truth, and absolutely justified in every... Maybe. But I just say that's got red flags all over it to me.
I see where you're going with it, Nathan.
Me too.
I see where you're going with it, but it could be that what you're saying still occurred by what Chocolate said happened right afterwards. So they don't want us to know about it. So that's the magician's trick is, okay, look, we stumbled on something we don't want the people to really know, so let's do this.
Really? Why have you drawn that conclusion? Why have you drawn that conclusion? Why have you drawn that conclusion? Why have you drawn this conclusion that there's something that we shouldn't know about when we're being told about it and told how we shouldn't know about it?
No. Let me go back to your statement because it's off of your statement. So you're saying, at least the way I heard it, is that they put that out there and that the Admiral Byrd story isn't quite what it's made out to be. Isn't that what you were saying?
I'm saying that any good magician will show you it's a distraction. Show you something that you look at so that you don't look over in the other direction. Well, your attitude is that there's something in Antarctica that we all need to pay close attention to. Because someone said, maybe you should or shouldn't pay close attention to this thing I'm showing you and this area we're talking about that's very important. Shh. And I go, what?
No,
Alarm bells. Woo, 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 woo. Hold on. Why am I accepting any of this?
Okay, that's one option. And it's a good one. But the other option is it is as it reads. He went down there. He came back. He went down there more than once. There's people who've gone down there. There's people down there now. So the whole point is the story could be as it reads, and then they don't want any more to come out of it. As Chocolate described, the time sequences of the different things as he was going through it. So did Admiral Byrd actually go there? Did he step on that big block of ice down there? Did he explore it? Were there airplanes flying there?
Well, here we go. More assumptions. What big block of ice? Down where?
Of course, I'm not saying it that way, but I'm just saying he went to a place called Antarctica. And it was, how could I put it? Spouted off in the newspapers, that big vehicle they made, that made headlines, and they were showing pictures of that. And I know a person's father who actually went and saw that thing, the actual vehicle that was made for him to traverse the ice caps and so forth. So let's say Admiral Byrd went to a place called Antarctica, wherever it is. What's so wrong with that? And why would they...
Well, because even in that supposition, what's Antarctica? And wherever that may be, where is that, wherever that may be?
That's not part of my statement, though.
Well, it's part of the story. It's critical to the story, though, isn't it? It's critical to the Admiral Byrd narrative.
No, but I'm discussing the part that did he go somewhere? I'm not saying where somewhere is. Or was it all made up, are you saying? Was it a backlot of a Hollywood studio? Is that what you're saying?
Let me just shout out this super chat. FlatEarthChannel.com. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat. Have you guys seen the Flat Earth map on the moon? Check out Sterigos Studio 10. That's STERGIOS Studio 10. Thank you very much for the super chat. No, I haven't.
I've never even heard of that.
Well, hopefully somebody will go their way. Maybe it'll be me if I remember after we've had this heated conversation about Admiral Byrd and the validity of anything he says about anywhere he's stating he may or may not have been, if he even exists. He might just be a character for all I know, just to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, well, see, you tend to go that route. I don't go fully that route. I do know there are tricks being played on humanity, though. But I don't go as far as to say that certain things didn't actually happen, and then they took steps to not let it leak out as to what the actual events and findings were. I think the government hides a lot of things on purpose. As to pre-programming one generation over another generation to these different levels, some things, yes, but not everything.
Okay. I mean, generally speaking, my attitude is like that because the application of my logic is, if I saw that on TV today, which I wouldn't because I don't watch TV, I would automatically call bullshit, right? Regardless. I'd just be like, yeah, this is here for us to be programmed with, therefore bullshit. Now, I think there's even a term for it in the conspiracy circles, auto-hoaxer, right? Now, I'm sick of auto-hoaxing, so I would rather just not be subjected to it, so I have to call bullshit. Right? If something directly affects me, I'll look into it. Like the law changes back in January. Or was it December? I think it was January. Soon after Corona was announced to the public, there was law changes. I looked into that because it directly affected me. As for the propaganda, couldn't care less. I'd rather not be subjected to it so I can just avoid having to go, yeah, that's bullshit. Because that's what I do. I've summarised that so I can explain Admiral Byrd. The logic is then applied to that. If I was to watch that on TV today, I'd apply the same logic. Therefore, what do I believe of this Admiral and what he says about a place that is apparently really important, but we can't go, right? Well, what would I think about it? I'd think bullshit. Why am I having my attention directed to this? And why is it seemingly secretive? Why have we got the information about high jump and fishbowl? Why do we even know about that?
Well, because it happened right after the war, and the Nazis were claimed to have gone there.
Oh my
and
God!
At the time, hang on. So again, an event. Let's assume it all happened. Let's just go this route for a minute.
Why? Let's just assume everything you've said is irrelevant. Let's just assume it's all true.
No, stop trying to make Nathan presuppose things. He doesn't want.
I'm not saying Nathan assume. I'll assume it. Okay, is that good enough for you, Arwen? I'll assume it.
You'll assume everything you see on TV is true. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm not. That's my. See, you cut me off before I get to my finish. That's not right. So, if those events actually took place, right? And that's where I said, let's just assume they did for argument's sake, if we could. I mean, we assume a lot of other things with ballers here. Let's just try this one for a change. And then they don't want people to know about it because of how Admiral Byrd came back and reported his findings. Well, then they're going to hush it and do what Chocolate said happened afterwards. That could be equally as true as what you're saying. That, for example, I'll give you an example here. They say that Joe Biden is ahead in polls against Donald Trump. Now, this is the most asinine thing anyone could ever believe coming out of that boob tube. And here's why. Trump fills arenas with people with lines standing outside for every talk he gives. Biden can't even get a crowd of 12 people. Now, among many other issues, we know that polling is a lie because it's obvious to all when on the TV you see Trump rallies and you see no Biden rallies. There's no way the polling matches the people size. So yes, is the TV being used to disseminate false information, to make people think a certain way? All the time. That's why I do dismiss most everything on the TV until proven. But that doesn't mean at that time in history, when TV was in its infancy and these things were happening before NASA got its legs up and all of the other control systems were in place, that these things didn't actually happen. That's all I'm saying.
Beautiful word for me to segue. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
Well, that's why I believe in the Bible, because it controls the future.
Well, I would agree.
Hold on.
It could have gone.
Sorry, Chocolate, go on.
I was just going to say, I could agree it could go either way. It was either blatant propaganda that was just put out there for us to just believe some nonsense, or maybe he did actually do that and then came out on television and, spilled the beans, so to say, and, they were just scrambling around like, oh, shit, what do we do? This guy's out here talking about all this nonsense. And then now I have to look at what happens after that, because then was it 59? They signed the Antarctic Treaty, and then in 61 it goes effective, right? And then what happens, in that same decade? Then NASA gets formed, right? So I completely understand what Tough Man is saying. It's like, look at the progression of events, right? Look how that happened. Now, obviously, yeah, it could be full of shit, but why is it being perpetuated out there like that? That's the question you got to ask.
How it's perpetuated is part of the manipulation. So, who's controlling the timeline that we're seeing now in the present about the past? Well, how that's presented and how it's pushed upon us in the first instance, when it comes out, the timing and all that, that's all based in propaganda. Now, the information itself is questionable at best when it first comes out. But even then, I've already given you my standards, so I won't repeat them. But even then, it's so questionable to look at it now in the present and go, let's look at the validity and the timeline that we're presented with in terms of the Antarctic Treaty, in terms of NASA's formation, in terms of Admiral Byrd. That's all given to us in the present and formatted for us in the present by whoever controls the present.
But no one controls the present.
Yeah, they do. Are you having me on?
No, they try. They try, but they don't control the present. Do they control? You wouldn't be speaking the way you are if they controlled the present. You are independent.
No, there's certain aspects that they can't control. But ultimately speaking, I've already postulated on this very show that we could be part of a controlled release of the information, tolerated because we're here to be ridiculed for the sake of argument. Well, in that case, ultimately, there's going to be a level of control over us, even if we don't appreciate it.
You can go so many different routes with one topic like we're doing now. And it's good to go through each one. But I don't fall in the same category as you as to believing they control everything. They try to control everything. I see them controlling things. I see the effect they have on people who won't go check out sources to make sure the news is valid or invalid. That I see all day long, and I'm bringing news to people and waking people up just like everyone on this panel. But as to there's no truth in this world to be sought after that's real because everything is propagandized and everything is a trick, no, I don't believe that. I think there is a trick, but I think people can see through it as well.
Okay, but in this case, we can just take it as read that Admiral Byrd went to this place called Antarctica, as described by them, as a bit of land on the bottom of a ball. Had a weird description of it, but fishbowl and high jump and blah blah blah. We should be concerned about it, right?
What about all that land he found beyond?
What actual point are you making though with that? Just because they have names for operations called high jump and fishbowl, that doesn't change anything for me.
Part of the propaganda is my point. Just a quick shout out to theflatearthchannel.com. He says the UN flag is a distraction to make us think the truth is hidden in plain sight, but in reality, we have much more land according to the moon map. Check it out. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, you just, no offense to your flatearthchannel.com, I really do appreciate the super chat, but ultimately speaking, all of these models are just pseudoscience and there's tens of thousands of them.
Who found the moon map?
Who found the moon map? I don't know.
Is that a map they found on the moon?
I don't know. If you take it literally, I guess so, Arwin.
But does that mean that the moon is a physical object after all? If they found a map,
I'm sure we'll find out in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you in the live stream for smashing the super chat, hopefully sharing the show. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Into the sky in my path at some point if you want to get down that far road. But he actually talked about being part of Admiral Byrd's expedition to Antarctica. Now, I'm not claiming what they found or anything, he didn't say, but he did talk about it and how they did atmospheric research and other research that was down there. So I have to say they probably went down there, but maybe what they discovered, we'd have no idea what they discovered.
Down there, you say? Where's down there? Down there? Down?
I was gonna say.
Hey, it's the flatearthchannel.com here. I want to talk to you a bit more about the moon map.
Go ahead.
Just to explain it to you, theory is actually, if you look at the moon itself and zoom in, take a picture of it, you could actually see the continents of all mapped out. So the incidental, like you can see where Australia is, you can see where America, all the places, continents are placed. And it's not exactly the flat Earth map, but it's very similar too. So it's just an interesting theory. If you do look up the website, you can do it for yourself. So you can take a picture of the moon yourself and then check its coordinates. I do encourage anybody to do that because I'm very curious what people think, because if this is true, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
So it's not an exact replica. It's not an exact image. It's just roughly. Yeah, we've heard that one before. Pete Shea has a similar theory, because it kind of looks like this and that, just not perfectly.
Actually, it's pretty accurate. As in, like, every continent's placed pretty accurately from each other. Like UK, the map of UK and Russia and where the place where the water ponds are located seem to be pretty accurate. I could show you guys some links.
How do we know it's
if
accurate?
there's a chat.
How do we even know the maps of Earth are accurate that we have
He didn't say it's accurate. He said it's
I mean,
pretty accurate, which means it's not accurate. But okay.
But
I'm still curious to see
the fact that North America, Australia, where they're placed in position, seem too coincidental to be like an accident.
Or it's just a
like
coincidence.
if you just take a look,
you have a link to that or something?
YouTube link, and
Sure.
you'll see.
Something I could look up on that?
If you just look up moon map on YouTube, moon plasma map on YouTube, and look up the studio name, you'll see what I'm talking about. Is there a chat box I could text on here?
Yeah, if you're in Discord, you should be able to post something in the live stream. I believe that's what it says. I can find it there.
So, according to the moon map, is the Earth a disk? Or is it a rectangle? What is it?
Octagon.
What? Is he gone?
I still don't get where you get the rectangle from.
Oh God! Please don't let us.
That's the best alternative to
Oh
a disc,
no!
so.
Please no! Don't let us turn into a model.
I'm sorry, Nathan.
Hey, I just posted
It's
it
gonna
on
be
the live
torture.
stream.
What?
I posted it onto the live stream chat box. You can see some pictures and a link to it.
Oh yay, pictures!
All right. Cool. Thanks.
Can someone present it in G+?
I don't see a link.
Huh?
I don't see a link.
In live stream.
It's on the Discord.
Give me a
live
second.
stream.
Chocolate's on it by the sound of things. You want it, Chocolate?
All right, so you posted 2 pictures and a YouTube video, right?
Yeah, it's a link to his channel. I'll actually post a more specific video just now.
All right. In a second, I got the 2 pictures.
The first video I just posted is just sent it down. Is the verse like quick snapshot, and the second video I'm going to send you is kind of shows you a lot more detail of zoom ins in certain spots and how accurate it is. In the second video I'm going to send you.
Okay. I'm looking at the picture that Chocolate posted. I don't know. I don't see it.
I'm going to post a couple other snapshot pictures as well.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to present it? Bit tedious.
Oh yeah,
for the
sure.
I put it in Ball Busters.
Okay.
I'll
let's stick
present
up.
it.
Oh, brilliant, Arwin. Thank you. Okay.
So, yeah, no. If that is somehow some kind of visual representation, warped or whatever, of the Earth's continents, no, it's not. Not at all. Not even close.
Look at the pictures I sent with Russia.
Hold on. Don't just poo-poo it, Arwin.
I'm looking at it, and yeah, my visuals tell me no, that's not even close. Sorry, it's not. The shapes don't match anything.
Okay.
Did you watch the video? It looks like you only spent like 10 seconds.
I'm watching the picture.
Are you one of those people that watches 10 seconds of a video and says you know it all?
Okay,
Well, if
let's
this is
hold
if it's
on.
about
Let's
the
not
picture, I'm watching that.
let it descend into a row just because he's poo-pooed it. Yes, he has just watched 10 seconds of a picture and made a decision on it on the spot. That's precisely what's happened, but let's not get too defensive. What's the video? Flatearthchannel.com. Did you say there's an accompanying video?
Yeah, click on the Plasma Moon Presents video.
What?
Okay, well, it's certainly something to check out.
Ballbusters.
Put the video in Globusters. Ballbusters, sorry. Globusters?
No, wow, that's a good picture.
If you look it up on YouTube, the first couple links should be it. It's the one with the moon's kind of bluish, not the yellow one.
When you guys are done with this, I'd like to ask Nathan a question, if that's possible.
Feel free. I've got it up. I've got the video playing a little bit, so I will scrub through it a little bit just so you can see what's on it.
Hi, Nathan. This is SC Montreal. I was curious about your Antarctica statement.
Okay. I don't know anything about Antarctica, so everything that I will present to you will be offered only in skepticism of things that are claimed of Antarctica, but go ahead.
No, don't get me wrong. We're usually of the same mind on many things. I think the same way as you. As a matter of fact, you go into greater detailed explanation. I appreciate that, but I find your Antarctica opinion kind of strange. I get what you're saying about Admiral Byrd. He could be a plant, whatever, but the fact that we're not allowed to go to Antarctica, certain areas and that, doesn't that raise any red flags for you, Nathan?
What, don't look behind the curtain?
Exactly.
Sure. But by the same token, we're being told specifically not to look behind the curtain. It's not like Toto's actually pulling it back and then, oh no, you shouldn't be looking here. We're not peeking behind some curtain. We're being shown a curtain and it's being opened for us and then closed and gone, shh, don't look, don't look. That's what's actually happening.
That is part of it, but you have to also consider the resources that are there, right? And
sorry, hold on. What resources where now?
Well, okay, yeah, I see where you're going to go there. You're going to say, how do we know, and blah, blah, blah. But now, is it of your opinion that there's a whole continent there without resources?
A whole continent where? I've said already, I've already phrased this. I have no idea what Antarctica is. Now, I've interviewed a guy who's been down to a section of land specifically called Antarctica for him. Now, he had all sorts of notions about what Antarctica could be, but he told us about the limitations of the little bit that he went to and what he did there. That's about as much information as I've got, which is more than most, I'll be honest. I'm not boasting, but I'm just saying. I've interviewed somebody who spent 18 months in Antarctica. Now, am I any the wiser? No. Am I any clearer? No. So any of your questions about what it is or what it could have will purely be based on things like Admiral Byrd's testimony. And that's it.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll go another route.
Hold on, just one more thing. Just because it speaks directly to your question. Did the guy I interviewed specifically mention anything about any resources in any of the experience he had? No. Not at all. He described how barren it was. Now, he was limited in what he could go to, and he was told why you can't go over here and there and wherever, and he explained all that to us. So he has a very limited understanding also. But he still went down there, right? He still did his stuff, and there's an account of somebody going down there. It's not that difficult. Yeah, people can go down to the penguins, and we can argue all day about, oh, well, that's blah, 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 and I don't care. It just seems like a magic trick to me, and I don't know anything about that particular destination. Sorry.
Okay, granted, everything you said I can argue against. I will put it to you in this way then. There is a place, wherever it is, that we're not allowed to go there. Just for that fact, for me, it tells me something is there and we should go there. That's my point.
Narnia, is that the magical place we can't go?
I think what he's trying to say.
No. Don't go to
is-
Narnia or La La Land. We have a place on Earth where during the time of war, so many countries that hated each other signed up a treaty not to go there. Now, that doesn't raise flags for you, Nathan?
No, it tells me that they're all working together as one. That they're not separate people that fight against each other. That's all bullshit. That's what that tells me. They're all hands across the water for this treaty. No, they're just all in alliance to begin with. And they're all in alliance telling us about this place that we can't go.
There?
Why can't we go there? We can. I've just described somebody I interviewed who went there. Where's there?
Nathan, you're not aware of the treaties that you're not supposed to bring gas over a certain amount. You're supposed to bring your poo back and your all stuff. You're not aware of these things?
Yes, I've read the Antarctic Treaty.
So that doesn't raise flags for you. Come on, man.
I don't know what there is. Now you're saying I can't go there, and all I can say in reply is I've interviewed somebody who came up to me and claims to have been there and has a believable account of being there. Well, what more can I say other than I've got first-hand accounts of somebody who's actually been there, and you're saying I can't go there? Well, okay. Well, it seems like there is means and ways of going there, and there's plenty of first-hand testimony of people who've been there. So, okay, there's a treaty in place by the rulers who set the law of the land that says we can't. Now, have you tried? Have you looked into it? Yeah, there's people like Math Powerland who will go into great detail about how they've looked into it and how they can't. But why would you want to go there? What are you trying to achieve? Where is there? Because there's all sorts of different explanations about where there is and what there is. So, for me, it's just a convoluted clusterfuck of absolute nonsense that I've got no way of verifying.
Hey, I just want to jump.
I hear you,
jump
Nathan.
in here.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that for the powers that be, for the past 50, 60, 70 years, for them all to agree not to go to a certain place, I'm saying there should be red flags there. That's it.
And I'm saying for them to all agree should be telling you something in the first instance beyond what is perceived from the propaganda you've been fed after they've all agreed. Well, number one, if they were in any way in opposition to each other, they would never all agree. But that bit isn't setting off red flags, but the bit that follows it is, or I'm told I should be. Whereas I'm saying, recognise the fact we're in 2020 if this gets played back, right? What are we in? August 2020, right? We are currently under a situation where we are hands across the water with every government. Are they all against each other, or are they all in complete agreement? Now, is that not setting off red flags that these people aren't actually in opposition to each other at any stage? And when they tell you about how, oh, look, this is uncharacteristic because we're hands across the water. Look, they already were. They were already in each other's pockets. They were already one entity. That was already the case. But you want to pay attention to the propaganda they tell you when they go, oh, look.
No, you're onto something there, Nathan. I won't disagree with you on that. Even more so if that's the case. That means they're conspiring to hide something in a certain place that we're not allowed to go and explore freely. So you're making my point for me, bro.
Yeah, you're basically saying that the fact that they are working together is the red flag.
Exactly.
I get it.
Yeah, correct.
But you have to also know that air travel, you can't go anywhere you want. The reality is that place they're telling us not to go is just distraction because it's cold and no one wants to go there anyway. Where they don't want us to go,
put it this way: there's no freaking way that they're there to protect penguins. Forget about that. It's nothing to do with environment and freaking penguins. That's for sure.
No, it's a distraction. They want us to go there because in the end,
You broke up there, bro.
My closing statement would be to say we have no idea of the motivation why we even know there's a place in existence called Antarctica. If it was me, and I was in control, and I was king of everything, and Antarctica, for whatever reason, let's speculate. right? And I'm going to put a disclaimer in. I in no way believe the next few statements to be true. They are purely being used as an example. Let's say that the fundy morons who assert we've got a dome over us and an ice wall are correct, right? And we've actually got a literal glass or sapphire fucking dome over the top of us that's encompassed by a ring of ice that's our perimeter, right? Let's just say that is true. Why on earth would you ever tell anybody of the existence of any such place ever? Why would you don't tell anybody? Yes, still locked down beyond a certain point. Just say it's dangerous. But never even mention that there's anything ever down there. And go there secretly. Like, tell anybody you're going down there, just go down there. If you have to tell someone where it is, tell them it's Greenland. Who cares? Make up a country. Maybe that's what they did. Make up a country so they can go to this other place that we have no idea of its existence in the slightest, but they meanwhile tell us in the public about a specific place called Antarctica. That to me seems far more likely. If there's actually a secretive place, is it going to be the place they're showing you and telling you about? No, of course not. Here, look, this is the secret we don't want you to know about. That's preposterous. It's absurd to me. But if you want to buy into it, I'm not going to lose my temper with you. It just seems absurd to me.
No, Nathan, you're absolutely right in the way you're thinking of it. I will not disagree with you. My main point is, if they're blocking something, there's something there. Now, it could be on the left that you're saying they're blocking here, it's over there, but there's something there, bro.
Okay, think of the Pink Panther scenario, right? So you've got your jewel, you want to protect it from all the villains. So you go on the news and you say, look, we've got this castle with booby traps surrounding this jewel, and then you show a picture of the jewel on top of a little deck that's got all sorts of booby traps around a glass thing, right? And that's what you show everyone, right? And then the cat burglar thinks, I know that Ethan guy from Mission Impossible, and I've nicked all his tools, and I'm gonna trapeze my way in, laser open a little hole and take away the jewel, right? Because I've seen on TV that they've got it heavily guarded in this castle. Now, the smart person in control of that scenario never puts the jewel in the castle. They put it somewhere else and never mention it to anybody ever, right? Meanwhile, there's several cat burglars getting arrested, right? Not getting away with anything because there's no jewel there. But that's what the news shows you. It's sleight of hand. Look over here, Antarctica. Meanwhile, your pocket's being picked.
I hear you, bro. So tell me, where's the jewel?
It might not be a jewel. I'm just saying, if there was your hypothetical place of existence that we don't need to be going because it's secretive and there's special stuff there, resources, for example, Admiral Byrd, thank you very much for that notion, right? Then the best idea would be, let's take our jewel-encrusted island that's just over here, right, and tell everybody to not go anywhere near this place over here with all the resources. Don't go near there, we're locking you out of there. And alarms will go off if you try and get fuel to go there. So don't go there. And they never mention that over there, where you're not looking, there's something they haven't mentioned. They're not mentioning that they're picking your pocket, the magician. They're showing you a scarf and going, look at the scarf, look at the scarf. Look at Antarctica.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I'm just looking at it at a different angle, I guess. But you do make a good point. We really don't know. That's the bottom line.
Hey, Nathan, what do you think about do you have a chance to look at that moon map? And kind of that moon map goes inside with what you're saying, because they wanted to see that Antarctica, the thing, the UN flag, that's all we have. But with the moon map, or when you look at the moon, and if you presume it's a map of the world, it shows there's more land than they tell us. So the reality is they show us the UN flag, trying to say, hey, that's the flat Earth map, guys. This is all we have. And there's an ice wall surrounding us, but in reality, it's way bigger. And that Antarctica is just a distraction, like you're saying.
But if there is a distraction, what is the distraction?
It's death, basically. If you try to go
the
to
distraction is that there's a mysterious ice island somewhere with nothing on it, and you got to find out what the mystery about it is. Even though
but Nathan has a point.
in the form that they presented as.
If the magician is doing the sleight of hand on the left, what is he hiding on the right?
You don't know unless you're the magician or you're privy to the magician's ear. So if you're privy to the magician's ear, then he might tell you how the trick works. But unless you get told, there's a good chance you'll never know.
Yep, that's the bottom line.
Just want to point out that I used to sell magic tricks to pay my way when I was a student. Nevertheless, so magic tricks aren't something that's, a concept that's nice to use when you're explaining certain far more complex tricks that are done with things like propaganda. Well, it's nicely boiled down to a magic trick. Obviously, no one's pocket's getting picked, but you can use that analogy and extrapolate it out into whatever you like that is comparable to having your pocket picked. But in the most literal sense, there is no magician holding up a scarf and dipping his finger in your pocket when you talk about Antarctica. But if I use an analogy in that way, it makes people realise that, when you're being duped, your eyes are being drawn to something that isn't necessarily the thing that's actually occurring for the magician. Well, for me, your Admiral Byrd is the equivalent of your Neil deGrasse Tyson. A person in position of power being exposed to the general populace via the evil TV. Burn it if you haven't already. Just if you're not exposed to these magic tricks, they don't work.
Can't argue with that, bro. Can't argue with that logic.
You're asking where did the bird go in the magic trick? Because it's really important that I find out where the bird went. How did he make it reappear? I must know how the trick works. Watch, what's the film called?
But I want to know what's in the hat.
Yeah, you want to know how he pulled it out of the hat, right? That's what you want to know. Well, if it's my analogy where while you're looking and gasping, there's a shill in the audience literally picking your pocket, because that's part of the swindle, well then, if you don't enter the theatre, your pocket doesn't get picked. And you're not left scratching your head about where the bloody bird went, rather than where your wallet went. Don't step foot in the theatre, you won't have the issue. I say that by analogy, burn your television, and then none of the magic tricks work on you anymore.
That's been done a long time ago. I don't watch TV. Now, Nathan, the point, I want to understand something. Are you saying there's nothing there? Are you saying it's all a made up, or are you saying you don't know? For all you know, there could be no Antarctica. There could be no. It's all
my opening disclaimer. I have no clue. Nothing but skepticism for the information I will get presented in that regard.
Perfect. The words of an honest man. Thank you, sir.
What? No mountains of uranium?
Well, they said coal, Arwen. They said mountains and mountains of coal.
Nathan, is my mic working?
It is. Hey, Dave.
I think it wasn't working earlier.
You know that's kind of funny. That part about Admiral Byrd's promises. Can you hear
Dave
me?
finish? Can you let Dave finish? He said hello and you all erupted. What's up, Dave?
I just wanted to say chocolate is the man. And also, you don't have to know how the magic trick works to know you're being duped or having a magician play a trick on you.
Exactly.
Just be aware and not to listen, not to follow it.
That was a perfect conclusion. Perfect conclusion, Dave. Exactly. You don't need to figure out the magic trick. So when earlier I said auto hoax, well, that's me saying I'm not interested in the magic trick. It's a magic trick. So long as you recognise where there's a magic trick being performed, you can turn a blind eye to it immediately. It's not of interest to me. Probably get my pocket picked. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
what a lovely day!